don't want to turn off the lights and it'll be too dark. Yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Okay. Here we go.
All right, we're already live. What's good, fans? Thank you guys for tuning in. Voice of the Fans podcast. This is your man Cam. Got my man Young Sam up in the Northwest. I hear you guys had some good weather today. You a little bundled up for the sun shining all day long.
Oh well, it was very pleasant early in the afternoon, and then of course in typical Seattle fashion, it got a little chilly. Once the sun came down towards the evening. But no, it was a great day.
Yeah, we need some of that chill down here, man. It's 87 degrees today here in the Southland, man. And where I'm at right now, I'm in Inglewood on location, so a little warm down here today, man. A little too warm for March almost, right?
Oh well, I'm sure you're complaining about it, right?
We got to do some things we have to deal with, so it can't be perfect every day down here. But fans, this is your man Cam. As I mentioned, got my man Young Sam up in the Northwest. Today, this is Voice of the Fans podcast, week 132 of this iteration of the Voice of the Fans podcast. In our show today, we're going to discuss NFL free agency recap. Who got the best? Who signed the best players? Who got the best deal? We're going to talk about the NBA trade deadline. We're going to give a recap about that. Some teams did very well. Other teams did all right. Other teams just was trying to give away players, essentially. And then there was the buyout market. We're going to get to that. Talk about NBA season week 13 it is. And then we got this week in history. Every week we try to give you a historical perspective on kind of what's going on in the society, some of the things that happened in the past, some of the things that happened in the sports world. So we just try to give you a natural perspective on that. We might even get to our NCAA brackets, which your brackets look like mine. We only got one hope that Gonzaga Bulldogs pull it out. Outside of that, our brackets is crap. I want to give a shout out to all those listening to the podcast on iHeartRadio, Tuned In, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Shout out to you guys for being a part of the show. Shout out to you guys for spending time with us. We appreciate it. I want you to hit that like button, leave a comment, let us know what you think. But then I also want to give a special shout out to the guys at Hoops and Brews. My guys, Clickbait A and B. Clickbait 1 and 2, they know who they are. I want to shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for giving us a platform, adding us on your platform, I should say, and bringing us along. I appreciate your help, all the technical savvy that you guys did, all the promotional savvy that you guys has helped us with. I appreciate it. So, Hoops and Brews, make sure you check them out on YouTube. Obviously, you can see this on Voice of the Fans on YouTube. We're going to share a link on Facebook, Twitter. Facebook group is Voice of the Fans. Twitter is What's Good in Sport. That's my Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, Mr. Clevon?
My Twitter handle is @CleveyWonder, and my Instagram is Clevon Steele.
Yeah, I need to get on my Instagram. Voice of Fans on Instagram. This Instagram is kind of weak, Clevon. I need to shore that up here in 2021, man, to get some more people following me and figure out what Voice of Fans is all about. But fans, those of you tuning in, checking us out, we appreciate it. Once again, shout out to the guys at Hoops and Brews for helping a brother get started on the StreamYard platform. Appreciate it. But each and every week, we're going to be here. We got segments upon segments. If you want to go back, you can listen to it on the podcast, on any podcast forum. You can check out some of our past shows where we got a lot of NFL heavy topics, NBA heavy topics. We're going to touch on some boxing, very little bit of Major League Baseball, but it's a lot of NFL, NBA for the most part. And then, you guys can hear how wrong Cleveland is, and how I hope you got his notebook out amongst all the things we've seen back there in the shrine. I hope your notebook is out and your pen is fresh, because he needs to be taking notes every day, fans.
Negative.
So once again, shout out to everybody. Cleveland, let's get going. As we do each and every week, man, we talk about the numbers. It is March 31, 2021. The year's just rolling by. It is week 132. So Clevon, when we talk about the numbers today, it's oddly enough we kind of touched on this last week, but just the way things fall on the calendar. We're talking about the number 31 once again. We both agreed Dave Winfield was probably the best to ever wore it, but when you think of who comes to your mind first, or in second in this case, number 31, who's a couple guys that come to your mind after the list we gave last week?
Well, lately, Cam, it's been the Reg. Watching all this NCAA hoop and seeing all these commercials of Reggie Miller. Remember what a stone cold assassin he was. Burying the Knicks time and time again over there in Indiana. So Reg has been coming to mind as of late.
Okay. One guy I thought I left Seattle and went down to Georgia, southeast coast of Georgia, and that was in '91, right about the time that the Atlanta Braves kind of got there. It's hard to call them a dynasty with one championship, but Greg Maddux played there for a bunch of years, buddy, and he was just kind of unhittable for a long time, for about 9 years with the Braves. He was unhittable, so saw a lot of Greg Maddux and what he can do on the baseball field. So he comes to my mind first when I think of the number 31. Clevon, when you think of the number 32, you can go a lot of different ways with this number here. As I think about it, and I just talking out loud, there's a couple guys that left off my list. But number 32, who do you have? Who do you think of first when you think of the number 32, or who wore their number best?
Cam, the person that comes to mind first is the point guard from East Lansing, Michigan, that went on to win 5 championships with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
A cat named Irvin Magic Johnson.
Sure.
He comes to mind first. Perhaps he wore it best. I think the only argument with that is perhaps Jim Brown. Some say the greatest football player of all time.
Yeah, those are the two that I for whatever reason, is not on my list. When I think of the number 32, first guy that comes on my mind is John L. Williams. Now, you might know he might be a little bit before your time. You might not be familiar with the fullback from down south and play for the Seattle Seahawks. Was able to catch out the backfield, run up the middle, kind of carried those Seahawks teams, man, for a few years. And oddly enough, I met him one time, and I was told, my football coach told me my game was a lot like his, and I took that as an insult, actually. But then I had to sit back and watch him play a couple seasons more, and I appreciated his game. But John L. Williams is somebody kind of near and dear to my heart. I mean, man, I could have went Franco Harris, Marcus Allen, downtown Freddie Brown. But yeah, Magic Man, who was not on the list, and Mr. Jim Brown, the greatest of all time, was not on my list. I wonder, and this is going to sound blasphemous, but just like we give Bill Russell crap and Bill Russell and Wilter Still crap for the talent he was playing against, who was Jim Brown playing against? I mean, for real. Really, if we come down to it, who was Jim Brown playing against? I mean, he was running by these guys, man. He's running around them. He's doing stop and spinning on these cats, and nobody was able to touch them. They're just falling by the wayside. It was like cartoon characters. I mean, what kind of competition was Jim Brown playing against?
Cam, he was playing against top-notch competition. And in addition, what type of equipment was he wearing, Cam? Did you see the face mask back in those days? Did you see the shoulder pads back in those days? See the thigh pads back in those days? You recall what the rules were back in those days about tackling people?
I mean, but
it was a far more violent game, and he certainly had some formidable opponents with which to run through. So
I question that talent, man. The equipment they were playing with. I mean, we all play street football. We all played
No,
street
you didn't.
football.
You didn't play with the
We didn't
1950s
play
equipment.
anything. We
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, we played with nothing. I played tackle football right there at
But you weren't
CAY
playing. You weren't playing
with
professional
nothing.
football with nothing.
Uh,
You were playing street ball with nothing. These are grown men that were playing in that league. No,
and again, just like you question, everybody's questioning Bill Russell. Everybody's questioning Wilton Steele 100 points in 3/4. Like, who was he playing against? That's all I'm saying. Who was he playing against? Like Jim Brown. I'm not saying it, I'm not trying to diminish his
you
accomplishments.
certainly are trying to diminish his
I'm not really
accomplishments
trying to
by saying that the level of competition was not formidable. Therefore, the numbers are somewhat distorted. I think that's kind of where you were going with that, right, Cam?
Do you agree or disagree that talent level was not the talent level of, say, what
No, there
Taylor
were not
Evans
any
played
Sean
against?
Taylors playing
Yeah,
free safety,
that
240 pounds, running
that's what I'm talking about.
running 4.25 40s. No,
Or
that
even
wasn't
what Walter
happening.
Payton
But at
played
the same
against,
time,
or against what Walter Payton played against, or what Marcus Allen played against, or what Eric Dickerson played against. Come on, man. Let's call it what it is.
that's
This is voice of
true.
the
But
this is voice of the fans. We tell them like it
it was
is.
still accomplished.
Very much
So
so. I'm really not.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm
I don't
just
know if
trying
he
to
was quite the
identify.
anomaly for the time that you're trying to make him out to seem. I think that he was just one of the greatest of all time. And I
Well,
will
I
leave
mean,
it at that.
this is gonna come up actually later on in the show. I mean, in fact, right away, it's gonna come right back up because now that we know, we might as well get into it. The NFL has extended their season to now 17 games, and one of the as kind of an NFL purist, we know Jim Brown did what he did in 14 games, or was it 12 games? Did he do 12 or 14?
It's 14.
And so now players have three more games to kind of get to his rushing record. They have per season. I'm talking about. We all know Eric Dickerson did that in 14 games. So now Cat's got three more games to get to his number, and then nobody's going to forget. We're going to have to keep remembering or record, put an asterisk by Eric Dickerson's number. Hey, this was a 14 game season. Or Jim Brown did it in a 14 game career. What he did, he didn't play more than 14 games because again, playoffs, your playoff numbers don't count. So, what are your thoughts on the NFL going to the 17 game regular season? It kind of makes sense now that they added the extra team in the bye. In one aspect, I mean, more football can't be bad. I'm a big football fan, so more football can't be bad. But just for the impact on the 17 game regular season with no bye, I think they should have an extra bye. I mean, come on. You preach for the last 5 years is player safety. Player safety is critical, but you add another game, you don't add another bye. Are they going to extend the rosters now and have it go from 53? Last year they had the 55-man roster, excuse me. Then they had the seven extra players due to the COVID restrictions. They have to leave that. They have to leave that and just go ahead and go with the 62 to 63-man roster, or add a few more players and just make it a 65-man roster. If you're extending the games, I would. It was bountied around. First, I want to know kind of what you think about that, but then I want you to kind of think about this at the same time. It was the thought was bouncing around last year. Should the players be limited to 16 games and the team play 17 games? So that means there had to be some strategy there. What games do your starting offensive line not play? Do you play two tackles in your center and then switch out your guard for a particular game and then switch out your tackles and center in the next game? Which games do your starting wide receivers play? And versus what game do they sit out? So every player needs to sit out one game, so they only play 16 games. It'd be kind of tough to monitor, but I'm sure the league that'd be easy enough, simple enough to do. This guy's only played 15 games. He can play, you know, another game this season. But what's your thoughts on that? The impact of the 17 game season? Do you think players should be limited to playing 16 games and the teams play 17 games? Give me your thoughts, Clevon.
The limiting the amount of games the players play is absolutely ridiculous because whatever a team would do would just not play any of their starters in the first game and then just play them for the rest of the games. They want to do as well as they can. So yeah, that strategy doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and that philosophy doesn't make any sense
Well,
whatsoever.
haven't you told me haven't you told me for the last 6-7 years that player safety is critical? Haven't you
It
told me that?
absolutely is. But what I'm saying
So
is,
we're putting in a structure.
from
We're putting in a
no,
structure
no,
that
that's not what I'm
limits
saying.
their
From
actions.
from a competitive perspective, all of the teams would do the exact same thing, and they would hold all of their star players out the first game to ensure that those players could play 16 straight games. That's what
So
they would do.
so
That would be the strategy.
Bill Belichick wouldn't start his players in the first game while everybody else is resting their players. Start the players so he gets off to a 1-0 start, and then find that Lowland season when they're playing somebody like who would they play? The Seattle Seahawks, and then put all their starters in the Seattle Seahawks to go ahead and let Seattle try to get a free W that week. I mean,
No, he would not. He would want his best team out on the field at all times. And so if that meant missing the first game, then it would be that game. I don't think that he would necessarily strategically pick a game to not play all of his starters because you never know what's going to happen as the season continues to progress. I mean, you have less control over what's going to happen. So he would hold his players the first game.
okay, all right. Um, impact on the 17 game, or impact on the NFL implementing the 17 game regular season. Your thoughts? You good with that? You cool with that? Sound like you're cool with it.
I've never really been all that okay with it. I think it's very dangerous. With regards to your previous question, yeah, the records are going to have to be re reevaluated with 17 game seasons. What players are going to be able to do? I think a lot of the current benchmarks are going to be somewhat you know absentee. I mean, they're certainly not going to be the exact same that they were. They're not going to have the same magnitude that they did before um, with players coming in. I mean, the 5,000 yards is not going to be that big of a deal. The
I mean,
2,000 yards,
hell,
it may fall sooner than we think. The
hell, a
the
thousand
100.
yards, a thousand yards for a season is going to be like, if you're not getting 1,000 yards a season, like we can't even talk about signing you next season.
Yeah, that's
You're-
no longer going to be the
yeah,
benchmark as far as
yeah.
you're very good. Toting the rock. It's going to be more like 1,200 yards.
Well, it already
Yeah.
should be like 1,200 yards. It probably should be more like 1,500 yards if you're really talking about it like
Well,
a,
that's a little bit
defensive.
different. But as far as a serviceable running back, that is establishing a sustainable running game, that still is probably about 1,000 yards. You can use that as the barometer. But if you're going to 17 games, yeah, no, that's not gonna. You have to throw all of those. You're gonna have to move them up a little bit.
Yeah,
And when
yeah,
it
yeah.
comes to Hall of Fame, you have to do the same thing. You have to reevaluate exactly what all those numbers mean.
I mean, so 2,000 yards. If you're able to do 2,000 yards in back-to-back seasons, that should be good in your book still, right?
The 2,000 yards back to back season is still very
Oh, okay.
impressive.
All right, all right,
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, just want to make sure. Um,
if and
yeah,
when that happens, of course.
yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be weird to kind of judge that. That's something us old farts are gonna have to kind of recall, could continuously recall, because I can see in 2 seasons somebody rushes for 2,200 yards, and they do it in 17 games. These young Falcons, he's gonna be the greatest ever. Like, dude, come on, man. There's extra games that he's been afforded, and the lax rules, etc., that has helped him achieve these numbers. Um, I'm surprised they didn't add the extra buy. That really that's really perplexing to me. Why there's no buy and an extra buy added in
It's
there?
hard,
That's
it's, it's
really
hard. It's hard on the scheduling, Cam. I mean, they're trying to cram as much in as humanly possible, and they think that they're doing all of us a favor by not playing that additional preseason game and just kicking it off a little bit sooner. Of course, if they were really truly worried about player safety, of course, an extra bye would be in the collective bargaining agreement, and an extended roster. I mean, you're playing an extra game. I mean, people are going to
it's in the roster. It's in the roster. Is going to have to. I mean, that's not even within question. I mean, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, but that's not even in question. So, what going into last season? Excuse me, last season when they had no preseason games, that kind of accelerated this idea. Because prior to that, they were thinking going 18 games and 2 preseason games. But I think that was too soon to kind of force that upon everybody. But I remember that was the talk prior to COVID. I think so. That was 2 seasons ago. Prior to COVID, the conversation was. I mean, I remember asking coaches specifically, "Do you need 4 preseason games to determine who's ready to go?" And the thought is, no, you don't. But the thought was maybe they go to 18 game regular season, 2 preseason games, and that give your guys, your starters, enough time to get some contact under their body, and then you evaluate these rookies and undrafted free agents in some lifetime action in those game and a half essentially. But I think that we're not too far off from that. I really believe we're not too far off from that, and hopefully when they do move to 18 games, that sounds crazy, but hopefully when they do move to 18 games, they do extend or add in that extra bye week. I mean, because if you're talking about player safety, how can that not be part of consideration? I just don't get how it could not be. Clevon, big moves was made this past week. Chris Greer showing his inner Bill Belichick and moving all over the draft board. The Dolphins take their number 3 pick. They traded to San Francisco for the number 12 pick and a couple extra number 1s, which, I mean, it looks good on the draft board, but with San Francisco supposedly being a playoff contender, that number 1 is going to be in the late half of the draft. Then we have, so they get a few number 1s. They move back to number 12, and then they use one of those number 1s and that 12 pick to move up to number 6. They trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was, I don't know if they had that Eagles move in the back pocket there, but that was some strategery right there. I liked it. And the latest mock draft I've seen, at least they still have the number 18 pick. So now they have the number 6 and the number 18. I told you last week it's Tua time. So we're not looking at a quarterback. We don't need a quarterback. We don't need Zach Wilson out of BYU. We don't need Trey Lance. We don't need Mac Jones. We don't need Justin Fields. We don't need those guys. We got our guy in Tua Tagovailoa. We ready to go. We all in. We don't need none of these guys. Okay, so we're looking at. I don't know if you watch any of the pre-draft or what is it, pro days today, or just in general. But 6 foot, 3 1/8. I don't know how they get the 3 1/8 in there, but 212 pound, runs a 4.38 40 today, Mr. out of LSU, Baton Rouge. Yeah, Jamar Chase is on his way to South Beach. I think he's already doing some house shopping today. So I think I saw him doing some house shopping today with my man, Mr. 305, Solo D. So what do you think about the Dolphins moving around their machinations to still put themselves in a position to get one of the top receivers on the draft board?
It's very curious, Cam. I kind of feel like they have just traded their way out of greatness. They had a chance to get the old lineman from Oregon. They moved down to get a receiver, and got some more picks for the future.
We drafted 3 old linemen last year.
To get some more picks in the future, which is always a good thing. Don't get me wrong. However,
we got 3 old linemen last year. Come on.
The receiver you guys are going to be going for is not the guy from LSU.
Oh, come on,
it's the other guy.
No.
It's the Heisman Trophy winner from the University of Alabama, from Tuscaloosa.
He's going to be
What
gone.
was his name again, Cam?
He's going to be gone. He's going to be
Oh
gone.
no, he's not going to be gone. You guys are at the
Smith.
6th pick.
Devontae Smith. I think he's going to
Devontae
Atlanta.
Smith. Yeah, no, he's not going to
I
be
think he's
gone.
going to Atlanta.
And that's who you're going to pick because it's going to be a great tandem,
Here you go. Man.
with
Here you
we're
go.
talking about Lore. They already have chemistry. They already have familiarity with one another. That's
folks,
who it is that you guys are going to pick. You guys are going to pass on Chase.
He's hating on the Dolphins.
Chase, and move on to this. What feels good. That's just what they do down there in South.
No, well, we do. We do.
It's going to be the Heisman Trophy winner.
We do a lot of what.
It's not going to be Chase, perhaps the best receiver in the draft. It's going to be
do a lot of feel good. You got that part correct, but it's going to be what is knowledgeable and what makes most sense. And that's go get the baddest receiver because he sat out. He sat out last season. You know, he was concerned about
Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama.
He sat out concerned about the COVID and how that
Heisman
was
Trophy winner from Alabama.
How that was going to impact his college career. He didn't want
going to be quite happy.
He didn't want his stock to slip a little bit. Tua's going to be throwing to Jamar Chase. You know,
the Heisman Trophy winner is going to go really well in Tua time down there in the 305.
Again, he's
personality issues with Chase. I heard he's down there at LSU's doing bad things. That's what I heard.
Well, I did hear a AB comparison.
Heard Odell Beckham Jr. gave him a bunch of cash. They went out. They went wilding with some strip clubs. Man, he ain't no good.
That's the influence.
Character issues.
That's the influence see. But we drafted it.
Adverse the Heisman Trophy winner.
No, listen.
Yeah, no character issues.
Listen. See, we had good luck drafting LSU wide receivers. We made a bad decision. And I don't know, I can't blame Chris Greer for this. Whoever's dumb ass idea was to let Juice go to Cleveland, whoever's dumb idea that was, you can't let the best receiver who played on your team in the last 20 years, you can't just not sign him. You can't just not sign him. And that's what they did. So we had good luck. We need to make amends for letting one LSU wide receiver go get out of our locker room, and we're just gonna sign the next best thing. That's what we're doing. Good. I like what the Dolphins did. Again, making some machinations. Move from number 3 because we can still get that same guy back in a couple picks later. We're not gonna have to pay him the big bucks at number 3. We pay him pretty good money, but he ain't making the big bucks that number 3 makes. And then we get a couple of first rounders that we can play with. And we still have the number 18. The number 18, again, the mock draft I seen that has them drafting some edge rusher out of Michigan. Come on, go ahead with that. We need a running back. They need a running back. If they don't get a running back in this draft, I'm heading downtown. I'm knocking on Chris Greer's door personally next week, or excuse me, the week after the draft.
Damn, they have 2 running backs. A running back is not necessarily a need.
You stop it. Again, you're from the Northwest. I know. And
they have Miles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed. Running back is not a need position right now.
Scat back, they're number 3. Both of those guys are number 3, and they Ahmed moved into my number 2 position. He can get some split. He can split carries. They can split carries between 2 and 3. I need a bell cow. Neither one of those are bell cow backs. Neither one of them. So that's what we're doing here. The Dolphins. What do you think about the Dolphins moving around?
I think it's great that they got additional assets to build on the future, and once they get the Heisman Trophy winner into camp, working with Tua again, there could be some chemistry there. And I think that,
I mean,
they upgraded the organization by getting.
You ever try to get back with your ex? You ever try to get with your ex girlfriend? You ever try to go back to your high school sweetheart? You ever try to get with her again? And things just really wasn't the same, right? Things just really.
I don't understand the scenario that you're trying to bring up here.
No,
I don't understand the analogy.
You're talking about he's going to go get the guy who he played with already. He won a national championship already. I mean, that was 4 years ago. And when you try to go back to the well, I mean,
it was 2 years ago.
It may look the same, but things ain't really the same. You know what I'm saying? Things ain't really the same. So we're moving on past that, and we're going to go get the best thing, not the next best thing. We're going back to get the best thing. Okay, and besides, he's going to be gone already, and we're glad he had a hell of a season. He had a hell of a career, won the Heisman Trophy. He's not going to be available. He's going to get drafted number 5. We're number 6, so we're good with that. Who should San Francisco? Apparently, San Francisco just doesn't like Jimmy. They think they're having a little buyer's remorse because they've done all buts. It's kind of funny this last week. No, Jimmy's our guy. We really believe in Jimmy. We really like everything he brings to the table. Blah blah blah. But they did all these moving around to go get the number 3 pick. You think they went to get the number 3 pick to get Penei Sewell? Do you think that?
I don't, Cam, and
Yeah, and I don't think
unfortunately
I don't
for
think anybody else
Jimmy
thinks
G,
that.
there are durability issues. I think that when he's on the field and he's healthy, they are extremely happy with his productivity. I think that thing they're worried about is, yeah, I don't want to, have my starting quarterback playing 8 to 9 games a season. It's just not enough. It's not sustainable. So if they want to, go in a different direction, it's very much justifiable. And Jimmy G will have every opportunity to beat that guy out. And if he's healthy, he will, because he's a better quarterback.
I mean, he should beat out a rookie. I mean, whoever that rookie is, he should be out the rookie. That's first and foremost. And just if I doubt he's going to think he's He-Man and kind of cut and come back inbounds and kind of rip up his knee once again. I doubt he's going to do that. But if he's on a date and his porn star girlfriend throws a glass at him and
Hey,
splits his
Cam,
finger,
come on now. Okay,
splits his
Cam,
finger in
come on.
half.
Why you get all into his personal life about his health? The two have no correlation whatsoever.
I mean, no,
Hey, man,
you didn't hear what
come
I
on
said.
now.
You didn't let me finish. Okay, I'll put it like this: if one of his volatile girlfriends, throws a glass at him and happens to split his index finger in half, and he needs a couple stitches and he's out for some weeks, that's another way he might lose his job. We don't know what kind of background she might be in, but we know Jimmy likes the ones everybody can see. He likes to let everybody who has a lot of
Cam,
visibility.
that was that one time he learned his lessons. Oh my gosh, I can't believe everybody found out about that. Let me tone that down, and he moved on from that.
Wait. Time out, fans. Time out, fans. Here we go. You think Jimmy he backtracked from that? Is that what you're telling me? You think Jimmy goes to the pinnacle of what can be done and what everybody sees that can be done? You think he backtracks from that and gets the girl out of private school? That's what you're telling me?
He understood the ramifications of being in the spotlight and being the quarterback, franchise face of the organization. He understood that, he has a little bit more responsibility and, he has to make his choices a little bit wiser.
Man, all that means is he's having private dinners at home. That's all.
Again, Cam, why are you all in this man's business? And what does his private life have to do with his ability on the field, Cam?
No,
we're talking about who's going to be the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
You're right. It really doesn't. But if your bosses see that as a problem and they don't see that
as
he
is healthy, he will be the starting quarterback next year. The thing is, the franchise has
healthy.
The organization has decided they're not 100% sure that he will be healthy and can maintain his health. So that's why they're making this move.
Okay.
They went to the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, Cam, with the same quarterback.
So let me tell you this. This is kind of I had this conversation with a reporter who's been in the game for quite a few years, and I can't go so far to say he's a quarterback guru. I'm not going to give him that credit. I'm not even going to mention his name, but I'm not going to go that far to say he's a guru. But I know he likes quarterbacks, and I like to hear him talk about specific quarterbacks. And the conversations are fairly interesting. Like he was a big Tua fan, and so I obviously was wavering last season before I was all in. In this offseason, I'm all in on Tua now.
So you're saying, sure.
I'm all in. So he's a big Tua fan, and so we had a lot of discussions around this. But what he tells me is the reason that it comes down to San Francisco wanting to move on for Jimmy G it comes down to literally 2 plays. Literally 2 plays. That's it. His health is without all health issues aside, you need to be healthy to play the game. But it comes down to 2 plays. You can remember one of them was in the Super Bowl where he overthrew. What was the receiver's name? Who went to India? He went to the Saints last year. Emmanuel Sanders. He overthrew Emmanuel Sanders. Had he completed that, they would have went up in the Super Bowl on the Chiefs, right? San Francisco would have went up on the Chiefs. A play in that same drive, there was a play that the coach called that had the tight end Kittles open over the middle for a first down. It was not in the same drive in that same game. The previous drive, there was a play that had Kittles open over the middle. It's a third down play. He elected to throw to Sanders because he didn't trust that play would be open, and the coach almost yanked him in that game. But no, you got to stay with him. This is the guy that brought us to us. And then the next play that he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Not only did they not complete the pass and then go take the lead late in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, but he just missed on a play a series earlier that had we completed that drive, Kansas City doesn't get the ball and they don't go down and score on us, forcing us to have to score in the game again in the fourth quarter. So it was that. That's what I was told, and I find that very interesting that your career can hinge on 2 plays. His career with the San Francisco 49ers really hinges on 2 plays. Not completing those 2 plays, he's been on the blocks for. I mean, last year didn't matter because they kind of the whole team was in the Super Bowl funk. But now this year, that's why they're looking to draft a quarterback because of 2 funky plays, man. That's kind of unbelievable, man. Kind of unbelievable.
Do you believe that, Cam?
Absolutely, yeah. The way it was explained to me, it came to I don't recall the exact play, but I remember the scenario where if
you don't have to recall the exact play, but do you really think that 2 plays will determine whether a player is the starting franchise quarterback for an organization or not? 2 plays.
I find it. I think there might be something else. Those 2 plays were kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But there's kind of something else in there where they're really not either they have doubts already, or they're not feeling the guy. Either one of the 2, and it came down to those.
I think they're just not feeling the guy, man. Don't put it on those 2 plays. Like that's the reason.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They moved up to the number 3 pick in the draft. I don't think it comes down to those 2 plays.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. That's why they're not feeling him, because he couldn't complete the 2 plays. That's what we had about a 35-minute conversation based around why why this situation is what it is. So do I believe that? Yes, I believe that.
If you have reliable sources that go with that, I would say, wow, that's extremely unfortunate. That's why it's come to this.
But to your point, if those 2 plays, if you're really not feeling the guy and it comes down to those 2 plays, that's a bigger story, right? That becomes now the bigger issue. But obviously, he can't be your guy. Like he can't be your guy, and then these 2 plays really says, oh, he's not the guy no more, right?
Right.
He there was already something there. You follow what I'm saying? There's already something there. So yes, when it comes down to now, you don't complete these 2 plays, and maybe they worked on this third down play for 5 weeks. You know the way coaches set plays up, because in that particular game, you remember he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders, right, by 7 yards. If they complete that pass, there's 4 minutes to go in the game. The Niners go up by 4 points. If they complete that pass, they take the lead late in the Super Bowl. Like, that's huge, right? And he doesn't complete the pass. But if you just move forward, and maybe the third down play was even worse, because if you convert on the third down, now we can get back to our running game, and then we're not put in that position where we have to hit that big bomb. right? It doesn't come down to that play. So maybe the third down play was even bigger than that. But then again, to your point, there has to be something else. Because if he's our guy, hey man, come on. These two plays should stick in your head. We can't make these two plays. We can't have it come down to two plays like that again. But now, if he's not really your guy, then dude, now okay, come on, man. As soon as we can, and it just so happened they stunk it up last year, that they're able to get the number 12 pick, and then they're able to make these moves. But that being aside, who would you like, objectively speaking, who would you like to see play get the Niners pick? You know, I'm not a Niners fan, so I take Justin Fields. I want to see that. I want to see that travesty take place because Justin Fields, man, you know, the brother in the draft. I want to root for him, but he's just not accurate. He's an agile. He's an athlete playing quarterback position. His accuracy was we talked about it last season during the college football season. His accuracy is not going to be what you would expect from a top flight quarterback in the NFL. He might be slightly better than Cam Newton when he gets in the game, and that's not saying a whole lot. Zach Wilson, excuse me. I mean, from what I'm playing with BYU, being able to put up solid numbers and I'm impressed because he doesn't quite have the talent that a Justin Fields played with. He didn't have the talent that a Mac Jones plays with, but yet he's still able to put up big numbers, and he played 4 years. So I mean, I kind of like that in myself, me personally. Lance, I don't know if I've never been high on these North Dakota State quarterbacks. So, I mean, if we desperately need a quarterback, I mean, we got the 4th or 5th pick. I mean, I guess we go with them because we're that desperate. But I'm just not that. The guy I'd be highest on is Zach Wilson. I like Mac Jones. I like what he does. Mac Jones shows me just a lot of consistent football. But I wouldn't pick him in the top 10. I mean, I don't think he's top 10 worthy, but because teams are in a crunch for a quarterback, he's going to go in the top 5. What's your thoughts on those guys?
Would have to be Wilson or Fields. I don't think Mac Jones is in the conversation whatsoever. Okay. It is quite curious that they made the trade before the pro day, so they kind of were already all in with regards to getting a quarterback at that number 3 spot, like you're saying. And just the rest, the way the draft is going to, shake out. I mean, what are the Jets going to do? I mean, it's
Jets are apparently looking at Zach Wilson.
Okay, and so I mean, is the Darnold experiment over?
Apparently so. But we're going to talk about that a little later, man. They're trying to get Darnold back with the USC, a former USC head coach.
At any rate, like I was saying before you got all nonsensical on me. What I was trying to go with, Cameron. What I was trying to go with before you got all crazy and stupid on me is that they pretty much are all in with either Wilson or Fields, and they decided that was one of the cornerbacks that they were going to take. Like you say, I think Wilson's a little bit more reliable with regards to accuracy than Fields is, but Fields ran a 4.43. I mean, that's impressive.
That doesn't do anything when it's 3rd and 7. That 4.43 does nothing for me.
Well, at 3rd and 7, when the pocket is collapsing upon you, it means that you're able to get out and get a first down.
I got linebackers in position who run a 4.5, and they're not a second behind you. They're not a step behind you. Okay, they're not chasing you. They're on par with you.
Okay, well, apparently you've never seen Russell Wilson or Lamar Jackson play football.
Okay, I don't think Russell ran a 4.4. I think
that's
Russell
true. He didn't. That's exactly what I'm saying. He did not. He ran like a 4.7.
So that's more craftiness. That's more craftiness. I don't see that craftiness from Justin Fields.
I
don't see that. I don't see that from Justin Fields. I don't see that. Me personally, I don't see that. But I'm not a quarterback guru. I don't see that. That's what I'm saying. I don't see that. I think he's
average, and that's fair because the last 5 quarterbacks that come out of Ohio State, none of them have panned out, right? Terrell Pryor didn't pan out. Terrell Jones didn't pan out. J.T. Berry didn't pan out. Haskins didn't pan out. This is the 5th one, right?
Yeah.
I see your track record, and it makes perfect total sense.
Yeah. So Zach Wilson again. What the Darnold experience is over. They're looking for a home for Darnold. They're looking for a home for Darnold, and for some reason, you guys are trying to put a wall up around Lumen Stadium, Lumen Field, in Renton. You don't want to hear Darnold's name. You don't want to hear Sam or Donald in the state of Washington for some reason. However, you can't ignore. I mean, what is it?
It's being ignored, Cam.
Fight
it's
on, fight
being
on,
ignored.
fight on. That union runs deep, man. There's a lot of these cats, man, throwing up these fight on. I don't know what the peace sign means with fight on, but that's what happens down there in LA, downtown LA, in
Means
USC.
nothing, Cam. Cam means nothing.
Oh,
He's not coming to Seattle.
Oh, okay. All right. So you haven't given that any consideration. I broached that with you like 2 weeks ago. I broached that with you like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I heard you.
And that was it.
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, no consideration whatsoever.
So tell us now the saga as Seattle turns. Tell us the saga as the Seahawks turns. Tell us what's going on this week. I mean, I didn't hear anything.
Everything is great. Status quo. Perhaps even a little bit better. We were able to, add some pass rushers last week.
Where were you?
Carlos Dunlap falls back into our lap again. Chris Carson falls back into our lap again. Extend Tyler Lockett for a little bit. We're just, putting the band back together, man, and just making another run at this.
What's up with KJ Wright? Well, again, one of your own. You drafted.
Not sure. It's up to KJ Wright to determine what he wants to do.
It's up to KJ Wright.
Not for the Hawks.
KJ Wright, he's at the facility trying to swipe his card to get in, and it's not working. I mean,
because he has to activate his code. He has to punch his code in.
What's going on here? What's going on?
He knows the code. If he wants to punch in a different code, then
what do you guys do?
You got top security. If you want to punch in the code, punch in the code.
I'm saying
he's
swiping his card and the card's not working. And here we go with the same old.
Because we're at a situation where
you draft Frank Clark. You draft Frank Clark, you don't sign him. You bring in Jadeveon Clowney, you don't sign him. These are guys who's produced, who's become household names, and we talked about the history with the Niners or the Ohio State. We just talked about their history. The Seattle Seahawks have a history of not paying guys who produce. What is the story behind this? I mean, Tyler Lockett, stand up. They paid Tyler Lockett. I mean, stand up. Hooray, T. Lockett. Rocket Lockett, they paid him. I'm so proud of you guys for actually paying somebody who produced. I'm so proud of you guys. I mean, we wanted to get to that. I can't believe they did. I said Tyler Lockett got paid. I was thinking he got traded. Did the Steelers sign him? Who did they trade him to? And it's like, oh no, he signed with the Seahawks. So wow, they went into the vault there and actually paid one of their guys. I'm impressed. I'm impressed by that. Why don't you pay somebody on the offensive line? Why don't you pay somebody on the defense? Why don't you pay somebody who's actually produced for you guys and then stop trying to just ring around the rosy with different guys who may fill in, who may do the job? You drafted KJ Wright, in the third round? And then you drafted him in the third round, if I'm not mistaken? Get a guy some money, man. Let him take care of his family. What's the deal?
Cam, over the last 6 years, they have given KJ Wright in excess of $50 million. He is more than welcome to come back. He knows the code because of the situation as it is. The key card doesn't work because you haven't committed to putting in your code. So once he puts in his code, it's all gravy, man. He's good to go.
And his code that required the code. Here's the code for you to take cut your pay in half. That's the code you're talking.
Cam, you don't know those numbers. We don't know those numbers. We don't know.
Yeah. There's a reason they're not disclosing them. There's a reason they're not disclosing these numbers.
Because it's in negotiations. It's in negotiations.
It's shameful.
You cannot reveal everything to everyone all the time.
Yeah, it's shameful. That would be my speculation. Because
I would love to see KJ Wright back here for another season, and who wouldn't?
Another season.
AJ Wright has been a warrior for
we can
years
bring
and
you in
years
for
and
one
years.
more year. We can bring you in for one more year, KJ. That's all we got. Why not get the kid some security? He's came in under your camp. He came in on a 3. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see what KJ was brought in. Let me see what KJ's history was. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think KJ was like a 3rd or 4th round draft pick. And so he came in under your draft camp and then performed well enough to get another contract, right? He performed well enough to get another contract from you guys.
Beautiful.
And now that he's saying, okay, I played under these KJ right here. Oh, he hits ominous 31 years old. That's why they're trying to dick around with them. That's why they're trying to dick around with them. Interesting. So there's been 1 year out of his 1 year out of 9 years that he played less than 13 games. 1 year. So that sounds like he's been pretty consistent, right?
Quite durable.
He's been pretty consistent only 1 year. And now he hits that 31-year mark, and then now they're trying to. We can give you 1 year, KJ. Never. We can
And
give you
Cam,
1 year.
again, make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it.
I hope you save
Here
your
in
money.
the 206, we would love to have him back. We understand his value. We understand his leadership. We understand his production on the field. We would love to have him back here.
Actually, KJ was a number 1 draft pick. A number 1 draft pick. So you're asking the number 1 draft pick, the number 25 overall, to say, we got 1 more year for you. Where's the security? The kid's 30 years old.
Well, Cam, unfortunately, this is the NFL, and there's not a lot of security.
Wow. So somebody who's been durable out of 9 years, every season there's been 1 year he played 5 games 3 years ago. In his 3rd year in the career, he played 13 games. Other than that, he played.
Unfortunately, yes, that is how the NFL works.
He played 16 games a year for you guys.
Unfortunately, yes.
And you say we got 1 year. We got 1 year for you, KJ. Oh man,
Yep.
you guys is cold. You guys is cold up there, boy. I tell you what, man.
I don't think this is. I don't think this is any different than any other organization. Functions.
Cold as the weather up there. But you pay Tyler. You pay Tyler to kind of sneak that under the radar there. You pay Tyler so everybody ignores how the mistreatment of their players up there.
And KJ, let me just say, from all the fans of the 206 and Seahawks organization as well, we would love to have you back here.
Don't buy it, KJ.
Door's always open. KJ, the door is always open.
Oh my goodness, you guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. Shameful. That's what you guys ought to be. Shameful. So you don't want to hear Sam or Darnold in the state of Washington. I mean, who's going to be your quarterback next year?
Russell Wilson will be the quarterback next year.
So I haven't heard any Sarah John Snyder meetings.
No, you haven't.
I didn't hear anything about that.
There's nothing to meet about.
Oh, so Sierra's not even allowed in the building now?
They had their talk. They made their arrangement, and everything is good to go from here on out.
All right. I mean, when when there's no dialogue and things go silent, you know how silence is deafening in a lot of situations.
They had an arrangement. Hey, if you need to get someplace, go online, schedule an appointment for the jet, for the G4, and do your thing. You have 6 of those. Use them wisely.
So there's limited access on the G4.
Limited for now, yeah.
Limited access on the G4. Right. Okay, so that's why she's not calling back. She's like, I got 6 dates already ready to go. You guys, I need a little bit more to access than that. Okay. Interesting. Okay, all right. So, what do you think about Sammy Watkins signing with the Baltimore Ravens?
I don't think anything of that, Cam.
Nothing of that?
Nothing at all.
Super Bowl wide receiver signing with the.
There will be no production from Sammy Watkins. From the minute he touched down in Buffalo, he has been nothing but a bust, and he is still a bust.
Nothing but a bust.
He sucks.
He nothing but a bust. He said, "You know what? You know what I can do right here. Can you see this? Let me show you something right there. Let me show you something right there. Let me show you something. Since the moment he touched down in Buffalo, huh?
Since the moment he touched down in Buffalo.
I don't know. Can you read that right there? Can you read that? Can you read
0.
that? You can't read that.
Can see nothing. No.
It says Sammy Watkins, actually. And
Okay.
I'm texting him right now that my guy called him a bust. Dude. Super Bowl winning champion. Super Bowl winning wide receiver. You realize that, right? Do you? I mean, you're going to ignore the Super Bowl? Is that
I
what
mean,
you're
Larry
doing?
Brown was a Super Bowl MVP and then went on to parlay that to a $60 million contract. What does that mean? He won a Super Bowl. What does that mean? Harrison Butker won a Super Bowl.
Quality wide receiver is what it means. You called him a bust. So, so let's see. Let's see. How many catches will Sammy Watkins get next year? There's a number.
In Baltimore?
You know there's a number. You know there's a number I want you to say, right? You know there's one number I want you to say. Do you go higher or lower? And the way it sounds, you're going under somewhere around here. Let's hear it. What's that number? What's that number?
50.
50.
50.
50.
50. You won't catch 50 passes.
Fans, I got him on tape, fans.
He won't catch 50 passes, fans.
I got him on tape, fans. This is one thing that's gonna have to go down on my sticky notes right here. 50 passes. I'm putting it down right now.
50 for Sammy Watkins. Write that down. It will be less than that.
Less than 50 for Sammy. We're gonna come back around. We're gonna circle back on that one. We're gonna circle back on that. It's on my sticky notes. Fans, I got the sticky notes going. All right, we ain't to the clicker yet, but I got the sticky notes going. And again, Clevon, he needs a lot of education, folks. He needs a lot of education, folks.
And how do you feel about that, Cam? More than 50? Oh,
of course, I'm on the other side of that.
The crickets, man. I'm so sorry. Are we in the woods? It went definitely silent over there.
Of course, I'm on the other side of that.
Is this Jason Voorhees?
Of course, I'm on
the Crystal Lake, man. It sure was silent.
Of course, I'm on the other side of that. Him and
okay.
They need a wide receiver.
Fans, you heard it. He's written it down.
Note.
He got the over. I got the under.
We're gonna see how it breaks down.
If he wants to get down, all Cam has to do is say word. Bet that, and I'm right there.
Oh, by the way, fans, we got a date. It's going down June of this year. Cam is be back in the 206.
Oh,
June of 2021.
Word life.
We're gonna have to do the show. We're gonna have to do the show live from Daniels. We're gonna have to do the show live from Daniels the middle of June. So we can get one thing taken care of.
With your can of SpaghettiOs, man.
We're gonna have to do the show live from Daniels.
Oh, wow. That is going to be a sight, ladies and gentlemen.
D Jackson to the Rams. What do you think about that move? Oh,
I think that I'm so sorry. What'd you say?
Back up. Jordan Reed signed with the Chiefs. Jordan Reed wasn't getting them love. We just talked kind of detailed and chronicled how Seattle does with their players. A defensive tackle who actually has had an impact on their team. And I think he had a couple off the field incidents that give Seattle a kind of an umbrella. If they can say we don't want this bad actor on our team, it kind of gives them a shield, if you will. But another guy who's produced gets shown the door. Thoughts of Jordan Reed going to the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, he sucked last year. Good riddance. We weren't going to pay him what he thought he was worth, so keep it pushing.
The kid's been in the league for 10 years, and he has
Man,
one
he's one
bad
of those
year.
Alabama dudes. You know how I feel about them
Oh
Alabama
my
dudes.
goodness
Sometimes
gracious, man!
they have a short shelf life,
Oh my goodness
and he
gracious!
used all of his up.
He used them all up. Okay, all right. D Jackson to the Rams. What's your thoughts?
I think that his hamstring already hurts, and that he will be out week 2 for 9 weeks. Come back in week 11 or 12 and play a quarter and a half and miss the rest of the season.
So you got him playing 3 games this year.
3 games this season, yes.
Wow. I'd be surprised if he's limited to 3 games. I really would.
Why? Why would you be surprised?
Okay, he's a specialist. We understand he's a specialist. We understand he's not an every down wide receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's coming in there for one reason only: to take up the top off the defense. That's why.
That's why he comes into every situation that he comes into,
but
he doesn't stay healthy enough to do it.
Everybody doesn't have Sean McVay.
That's why he went to Washington. That's why he went to Tampa Bay. That's why he went to Philadelphia. That's why Philadelphia initially drafted him. That's why he's in Los Angeles. But he doesn't stay healthy enough to do that.
What's the best you've seen him play recently? What's the best you've seen him play? I mean, we know he was a killer for a year for the Eagles.
The best that I've seen him play recently was when Fitzpatrick was throwing the ball to him, and they love each other. That was great.
No. The best he played recently was at Washington like 3 years ago, right? And you know who the head coach was? You know who the head coach was when he played?
Enlighten me, Cam. Who was the head coach?
Or not the head coach, but the offensive coordinator. Excuse me. It was Sean McVay. So they're reuniting. Okay, McVay knows. Apparently, he has the salve that's going to help the hamstring. And put a little of this on it, put a little of that on it. He's back in the sunlight. He's back in the sunshine. His home state. I just saw a picture with it. Him and mommy right there at the center of safe SoFi Stadium. He's coming down here to put on a show. He's coming to his hometown to put on a show. And I'd be surprised if they only get 3 games out of him. I'd be surprised. You don't want to hear. You don't have to hear. You don't have to.
I hope the over under at 8 games, Cam. And
that's a big way from 3. That's a big way from 3.
So how many do you think he's gonna play? I was being facetious with the 3. I mean, obviously he's a professional and he's coming into camp. Hopefully he's got
17 games.
And like you said, he's back in his home state. And like you said, the weather's really good out there. I'm putting it at 8 games. Over under.
Oh, he plays over. Over
8 games?
Over. Is this a sticky note? Did this go to
that's a sticky note.
Did this go to the stickies? Okay.
That goes to the stickies. Do I need my own sticky? Because I know how you be pencil whipping me, Cam.
Putting it right now. Over under 8 games.
Yeah.
For D Jackson. Over. That's what I got.
You got over. Okay, cool. Because I got the under. I got the under on that.
Over. Okay. Interesting. Okay, it's on the sticky, baby. It's on. Is fans. This is what I'm talking about. The education that Clevon needs right here. And now that we live, now that we're live, he can't go. He can't hide from it.
It's so beautiful, fans. You get to see how this whole thing unfolds, and then the backtrack is even funnier. Just saying.
Clevon, you're bananas, bro. You are bananas, bro. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. So let's move on here. Clevon, I don't know why I can't put it on you. I'm trying to put it on you. Let the fans see this. It's all on you now. This guy needs the education, fans. Here we go, DJ. Best available free agent. You wouldn't believe. Your guy Cordell Patterson's out there. Why don't you guys sign Cordell?
We already re-signed Mr. Lockett, and we're happy with that.
Okay. What about Eric Fisher? Why don't you sign Fisher?
We've talked to his representatives, and we're working on some things, behind the
Okay.
scenes you just don't know about.
Okay. Any interest in another Super Bowl champion, Justin Houston? Since you don't want to sign KJ, would you sign Justin Houston?
Our first option, our first priority is to, bring KJ back. We'd love to have
Oh
him.
my goodness.
He's a
KJ
part
for
of the
1 year?
family for many years. We love, respect, and care for the guy. Justin Houston would be a fallback.
Okay.
If we can't come to agreement into terms with KJ.
Mitchell Schwartz, have you talked to his representatives too?
No, we haven't.
I mean, so you let Shaquem go. The family affair is over. You
Yes.
guys just cut the
That's over.
ties. You guys
That's
just
over.
cut the
Yes.
ties. I mean, cut it right at the
Yes.
wrist. Just to be done with
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I mean, did he get to take his jersey with him?
He most certainly did. And all of the plaques and all of the awards.
Did he get a hat?
Of course.
Player of the Week awards. Did he get to
his
take those
pictures
off
at the ESPYs with everybody? Oh man, he gets to take his Pro Bowl jersey, all that. He gets to take all that with him.
Oh, dude, we don't even just act like you were never here. Is that what you're saying? Remove all memory of the Griffin brothers being in town. That's
no, it was a great story. It was a heartfelt, feel-good story. They did a lot of good for a lot of people. $14 million a year for that caliber of cornerback. So sorry, it's just not in the budget. It's not even. It's nowhere near realistic. We'll see how Urban Meyer handles him down there.
Okay, so are you going to go call since you like to? Are you going to call your old Gurley and Richard Sherman? He's available. I mean, can Richard and squash his beef with Russell and come on back to the squad?
Went to Salty's, had a quick brunch. We're chatting.
Oh, there's some conversation going on there.
Chatting.
Okay.
We're chatting.
All right. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Some hurt feelings. I mean, it's not going to be right away.
Okay.
Obviously, a lot of things to work through. So.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So there might be something there. That we'll see. We'll see when you guys offer him a $4 million contract for 2 seasons. We'll see how he takes that, or the vet minimum.
We'll I don't know how the negotiations have gone monetarily wise.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yes, there has been some conversation. If that was your question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, fans, man. That's our NFL topics today. We're gonna move on to the NBA topics, and see what Mr. Sticky Notes wants to talk about in regards to the NBA, because I know I got some discussions.
Oh, well, can't wait.
I'd like to know, first of all, we had the trade deadline. We touched on it last week, the trade deadline. So a week later, what's the most impact? Well, first of all, let me back up. We have the topic during the football season: good win, bad loss. We have that topic every week. We kind of run through some of the good wins and bad losses.
Sure.
Last night, and I'll jump right into this. Last night was a terrible loss for the Los Angeles Clippers to the Orlando Magic. Did you happen to see that?
I did not see it. I did hear about it after the Orlando Magic absolutely gutted their franchise and traded every player that's ever scored in double digits for them in the last 97 games away. So how they could possibly beat the Clippers was a little bit of a mystery. I didn't dig too deep into it because I know that's your thing, Cam. I know that's your lane. I don't want to get in your lane, but yeah, a little astonishing.
Yeah, well, it was a bad loss. I mean, considering they were 6-0, they were last 6 games. They had won their last 6 games, blowing out the Milwaukee Bucks, who's about to smack, who's smacking around the Los Angeles Lakers as we speak. Blew them out a couple nights ago. The 76ers, although they were without Embiid, smacked them around a couple nights a couple nights ago. So
Sure.
they've had some critical wins, and I think it was a matter of overlooking the Magic. And they were down. Paul George didn't play. Marcus Morris didn't play. Our new free agent pickup, our new acquisition, trade acquisition, Rajon Rondo didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Serge Ibaka didn't play. Patrick Beverly
Serge.
didn't.
No
I
Serge.
mean, no Serge. Serge likes to get in at his place in the pool. Serge likes to do his thing in the pool with the hookah. So I don't know. The hookah obviously hasn't been treating him well because
What about Batum? Bonjour.
Batum had his season high in 11
Bonjour.
rebounds. He had his 11 high in rebounds last night. He had 10 rebounds.
Oh,
That was a season high. I
great.
mean they're counting on guys like Luke Kennard, who did, you know, Luke Kennard had a net, probably had his season, or it was his season best a couple nights ago. But last night,
Zubac, was he there?
Zubac another double double. I think Zubac is 10 and 10, 10 and 10
10 and
again.
10. 10 and
Well,
10.
no, excuse me.
Okay.
It was a double double. I think it was more like 13 and 14, but it was a double double. Um, they had Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann kind of stunk it up. It wasn't the performance that Terrence Mann has been having over the last 6 weeks, but
Mm.
it was a tough loss. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But in consideration, I think it was a kind of a trap game because they got the Nuggets coming up tomorrow. Now, if they lose to the Nuggets, that raise, now you lost back-to-back games. They've only done that 3 times this season in 40 plus games. They only lost back-to-back games 3 times. So if they do that again, that draws a bigger red flag. But I expect Paul George to play tomorrow. I expect them to have at least Marcus Morris back if we don't see Patrick Beverly and Serge. So I expect more of a complete roster that they're playing with tomorrow. So we got to see what's up with that. But I didn't want to go on in this NBA conversation and not bring up their atrocious loss to the Magic, which it was. It was atrocious. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It was an atrocious loss.
Gotcha.
But I want to bring that up and kind of explain why that was somewhat understandable because they're not full. It wasn't a full roster there.
Not full
So
strength.
it was
Not
there
full
was
strength.
not a full strength, and then they had some kind of good wins over the last few weeks to kind of let you know that they are serious about what's going on. But a week later, though, tell me which were the most impactful trades that you've seen.
I don't know if it's a trade so much, Cam, as the acquisition of Andre Drummond to the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that's been the most impactful.
I like that move. I like Drummond better for the Miami Heat. I may have mentioned that last week, but he feels a void. He feels a void for the Lakers. He rebounds. He's obviously a bigger guy than Harold down low, so that he can play with Harold. So I think that's a good move in that respect. We know how fragile your boy AD is. So as long as there's somebody, to kind of do his dirty work, he has to like that move the best because now
Frees him
he
up to do
yeah,
other things. Yeah.
yeah. So that's interesting. So it was a good move. I would like to see him better in Miami though,
Mm-hmm.
because Bam Adebayo is at least he plays and he's suffering from the same thing that um, well, I guess it's not the same thing. They're asking him to, you know, serve drinks, deliver hot dogs, pass out popcorn, get the rebounds, bring the ball up court, wipe the sweat off the court during timeouts. Um, also bring the towels in when they have the timeout. Get the towels to the guys. They're just asking Bam Adebayo to do everything in the arena
And
on
score
every day.
25. And score 25.
Yeah, if you can score 25 while you're at it, and get while bringing it down 10 rebounds and getting 4 or 5 blocks for us. Why don't you do that too, Bam? Like
3
he needs help.
steals.
He
Right.
he needs help. So the same thing that Miami would be expecting the same thing that Drummond's going to bring to LA. Miami would be expecting the same thing, but I can't imagine him wanting to be in LA. LA, Miami, no humidity out here, so I can understand that. Aldridge going to the Nets. Now everybody want to say KD. How many help does KD need? How much help does the Nets need? They just signed Blake Griffin. They just signed LaMarcus Aldridge. They were previous All-Stars. They were previous All-Star 5 years ago. They're not All-Star caliber players today. They're not. We're not. LaMarcus is going to be lucky to get 20 minutes a game behind DJ. I don't know. It was a move. That was a move that should. It only moved the needle because it's New Jersey. What do you think? What are your thoughts about that? I don't know that that's a significant pickup for them. What's your thoughts?
Brooklyn added a lot of depth. They added a lot of experience. I don't know. They added a lot of talent at this point in either Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge's career.
Agree.
They bring leadership, but with that also brings more expectation. And you know how the Brooklyn Nets kind of respond to expectation. So now there's absolutely zero excuse for them not getting to the NBA Finals. Adding those two players, which just puts more pressure upon them. And you know how they respond to pressure. Not well.
We punched that stamp.
I think, unfortunately, because they added those two players, it's actually going to have an adverse effect on their performance.
Really?
Put that much more pressure upon them to do things that they're not sure that they're capable of doing, and it's just going to explode on them. It's unfortunate to kind of watch the snowball kind of take effect, kind of watch the intersection where the train wreck is going to happen. You're seeing it all kind of come together, unfortunately.
And how is this going to take place? I mean, how do you feel this is going to take place?
Because the level of expectation at this point is to get to the NBA Finals, and a lot of people on the East Coast think, and Vegas, for example, they are actually the favorites to win the NBA championship. So that's just too much pressure for those guys. For guys like James Harden and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and DeAndre Jordan would have to hit free throws. So would Blake Griffin, and LaMarcus Aldridge would have to be somewhat present after game 2 of the first round. So those kind of things, they all kind of snowball upon themselves, and we're going to see what's going to happen. And Miami's just getting better. So again, as I've said before, how
did Miami get better?
They added Victor Oladipo. You probably forgot that part. I'm so sorry. But at any rate, Miami is the team that is going to give Brooklyn the most problems. Second most is Philadelphia. But they won't need until much later if they get past Miami. Excuse me?
What is Victor Oladipo going to do in Miami?
He's going to score points. He's going to take a little bit of pressure off of Jimmy Butler, so he's going to have to go for 25 again. That was the whole point of getting him.
Victor Oladipo will not average 20. He might not average 20 points in the rest of the season.
Doesn't have to. That's not what I said. I said he will take some of the pressure off of Jimmy Butler.
25 points a game. You just said 25 points a game.
No. He's going to take pressure off of
he's not taking
Jimmy Butler scoring.
Nobody's worried about Victor Oladipo, bro.
Okay. Well, you will be in the playoffs when the playoffs start.
Nobody's worried about Victor Oladipo.
And if it's the Brooklyn Nets, wow. They're going to have some problems.
How do you feel? What has he shown you that he's going to take pressure off of Jimmy Butler? What has Victor shown you?
Consistent jumper, great ball handling skills, great defense. He's going to buy into the defensive mantra that Miami brings. It's JB. It's Bam. It's going to be Vic. Everybody's real grimy over there.
And you saw this. Where'd you see this great D being played at? Where'd you see that being played?
It's coming. I saw it last year. It's starting to come back around this year.
You saw it last year for who? What? Because wasn't he on the bench?
He's going to buy into the Miami Heat's defensive presence.
So you're
philosophy.
you're sold on more of what Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra can do with this particular player and this type of player than what he's actually done. Is that what I'm understanding from you?
Yes, he's shown flashes of exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Sometimes more than others.
Okay.
But no, he is
Again,
primed and poised.
you're buying into Pat Riley. You're buying into Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra more than this particular player. So if this player doesn't fall in line, then is that a bad look on Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra?
No, not really. They had nothing to lose. They were trying to upgrade defensively and give a little bit more scoring so that JB doesn't have to do it all the time.
Okay.
And they got that.
I mean, well, they miss a boat. They miss a boat because they still have Bam, like I said, delivering hot dogs, wiping the floors, or wiping the sweat off the floor during timeouts. Passing off the towel. That's who they need the help for. It's not for Jimmy Butler. They had Tyler Hero and the other boy Duncan Robinson to help. He needs to get those guys in line. But Bam is down there by himself, solo. It's like that's who needs the help.
You know what you did with your comments, Cam?
Huh?
You know what you just did with your comments?
What's that?
You opened up your bank account, man. Because now when you're here in June, you have to go to Daniels 2 times, man. Yeah. Because now when Brooklyn faces Miami in the first round, if that happens, oh, man.
What?
Yeah. Brooklyn is not going to get to the NBA Finals.
You have Miami Heat beating Brooklyn? Do you have Brooklyn? Do you have Miami Heat knocking Brooklyn Nets out of the playoffs? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
It's not a matchup at present, but if that manifests itself and that ends up being a matchup, yes, I would have the Miami Heat on that side.
See, too much speculation for me to go to the sticky notes on this one. Too much speculation.
Oh, the sticky notes. Let me read it for you. The Brooklyn Nets will make the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Clevon has the field.
Oh, that's okay. Take the field. You can take them. You can take the Cavaliers. You can take the New York Knicks. You can take the Atlanta Hawks.
Yes.
I mean,
the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah.
You got
the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah. I have all of them.
Take them all. Take them all.
You have Brooklyn.
We got Brooklyn's in the house. Come on, that ain't even a question, bro. Stop it.
I know. That's why I'm saying when that matchup happens, if they avoid Miami, I mean, I give them a 70% chance of getting there. If they have to play in Miami, they're not getting there.
So,
and Joel getting plenty of rest is not good news for them either.
I mean, bro, the healthy Joel, in rhythm Joel, I can't even have this conversation with you. So clearly, my next question was: did your final prediction change? With considering the buyouts, acquisitions, the impactful trades, and you have. Let me see. Who did you have? Because that's not on a sticky note. That's on our script every week. Actually, you got the Los Angeles Lakers and the Boston Celtics. Do you care to amend that yet? Let me know when you want to amend that one.
Yes, it will be the Los Angeles Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, so March 31, you want to amend your pick already? Okay, I'll amend that. I'll amend that right now. I'll just put in parentheses Sixers. And then I'll put a little 331. Let the fans know when you actually make this change here, because my Final Four is I didn't even have the Sixers in the Final Four. I got Nets and Bucks in the Final Four. So yeah, you were wrong on 2 accounts there, and against the Lakers and the Clippers. I don't even, as it stands right now, I don't even know the Lakers is going to make it there to the Final Four of the NBA. As quiet as it's kept. But that's a conversation when they're all healthy and trying to figure out how the next time AD's out for 10 games. We'll have that discussion then. So thank you for updating your finals prediction. Russell, did you see Russell's dunk? I showed you the dunk. I sent you the clip of it. Did you see Russell?
Very athletic, very vicious. He was letting out a lot of anger and frustration.
Ooh. And then Stephen A has the nerve to come on TV and say he's ashamed Russell hasn't worked on his deep game. Did you hear Russell's retort?
No.
Russell wasn't happy. Fans, you can go on the Voice of the Fans YouTube page and see what Russell had to say. He wasn't happy with it. He went so far as to say that guys like Stephen A are taking money out of players' pockets with their slander that he comes with, and that I found that it was a little. It got a little maybe it was a little sensitive in that one.
A little bit, because he's certainly not taking money out of his pocket at 40 mil. So he wasn't referring to him. So
no, he wasn't. But may I say something about? Dare I say anything about the Washington Wizards at whatever record they are? 13 and 29, or what's their record?
I think they're 17 and 28, something like that.
Oh wait! Oh, did Drummond limp off the court? Did I just see highlights of Drummond limping off the court?
No, you did not.
Why is Marc Gasol in the game? Why did Marc Gasol get in the game? Why was Marc Gasol playing if I didn't see Drummond limp off the court? Four points, 1 rebound. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious! That's what we're doing in Staples Center?
Were you projecting some type of injury here, Cam? What are you speaking about?
I just saw the highlights, and I saw this free agent acquisition, Andre Drummond, limp off the court into the locker room, and Marc Gasol.
I haven't seen any of that. Let's not speculate and go on any further with all
There's
that.
no speculation. I'm telling you what I just saw.
Move along.
He finished the game with 4 rebounds and 4 minutes and 1 rebound. That's what I saw. There's no speculation there. Like I said, we'll wait to give the Lakers a couple of weeks to kind of lick their wounds and see if they can get healthy. Hey, again, you can't get mad at me for bringing up the facts of what's going on.
I'm not mad at you at all.
Okay, all right.
That's the topic you were talking about.
Getting into your feelings there. Yeah, dare I say anything about the Washington Wizards? I want to say something specifically about Rui Hachimura. Have you seen Rui pay any attention to his season? I know the Wizards stink.
I have. He's second year. He's in his second from Zag. He's playing well.
I'm expecting big things from Rui. He hasn't got off. He hasn't got quite off to the career that I have anticipated.
I don't think the Wizards is a good environment for him, to be perfectly honest with you. I think if he was somewhere else, I think he was with, for example, San Antonio, Popovich's tutelage.
Come on, you sent him to the best coaching staff,
or even Utah, Quinn Snyder's tutelage. Just a little bit different than just Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook just jacking every time down the court. That's just not good for his position. It's not good for his maturation process. And nobody holds him accountable to anything because they just want him to just contribute where he can around that chaos. It's not basketball, man. It's just AAU, run up and down, and just you're more athletic than the person in front of you and just shoot all the time. And that's not good for what it is that he does. If he was on a really good team, we don't want to say the Bucks, Celtics even. He's a totally different player. The potential is there. It's just not. He'll never show it enough in Washington for people to notice.
Wow,
there's not enough opportunity.
Did you just call Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal AAU players? Is that what you did?
The style of basketball with which they play, yes, is very AAU.
Wow.
Style.
Okay, so in you agree with Stephen A. Then you agree. Sound like you agree with what Stephen A.'s issue with Russell Westbrook is that his game really hasn't developed into a all around basketball game.
It is extremely all around. It's just extremely limited because he has to have the ball all the time to do that. And he doesn't make other players better. The only way he makes them better is because defenses collapse on him because they know that he's going to have the ball all the time. So every once in a while, if he's, feeling so generous, he gives other players an opportunity to score.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Um, okay. Did you KD versus Rappaport? I mean, the leaked DMs that Rappaport leaked. Did you hear about that? I mean, I didn't research it a lot. I can't go into
I
a
don't
lot.
I don't get into KD and his
Rabbit ears.
yeah. I
Okay.
was going to say something completely different, but yes.
I mean,
That's a better way to say that. Yes. I don't get
that's
into Kevin Durant and his uber sensitivity to certain things.
I mean, okay. Like I said, I don't know exactly what the context of the comments were, but I just know there was some Kevin Durant back to his typical self there. So we'll leave that alone because I just can't go into it. Fans, that's our NBA topics for this week. Again, I want you guys to chime in when you see this. Chime in, let us know what you think, man. Where Clevon is wrong. We're talking about the Miami Heat and Victor Oladipo. Come
Wait till
on,
that wait till
we
that unfolds, fans. Ooh,
we need some feedback on that one.
goodness.
We need some feedback on that one. Talking about Rui Hachimura, if he's with he went to the top brass of coaches and sent him to Pop and Quinn Snyder, and then he even said Brad Stevens. He do flourish up there. So it is a coach, and so that's an indictment on Scotty Brooks. I can't defend Scotty Brooks at all. I won't defend Scotty Brooks, but that's an indictment on Scotty Brooks and his ability to coach up Russell, right?
No, this is the second time around with Russ, so he knows his strengths and weaknesses. So
I mean, yet it's still an indictment. He hasn't corrected it.
no, that's how the NBA is. I mean, it's all about athleticism and 3 for 2. So
Okay. So let's get thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna get into our next segment. It feels weird not being able to take a break and then produce a segment and put in our little commercials. This feels weird that we have doing it on this different platform. But again, second week, I feel like a much more comfortable with this format. Clevon, how you feel?
feeling a lot better. Last week was a lot of fun. Our first time out and kind of getting our feet wet. But I think we did a great job, and it's definitely a more expressive platform.
So one of the segments that we have is This Week in History, Clevon, where we talk about things in the past. A lot of it's Black history and sports history. So I want to get into that segment now before we hit our random topics and close out the show. 15th Amendment, giving blacks the right to vote, was established March 30th, 1870. So let me get this straight. So here, the next one I have is 326, 1799. New York abolished slavery in 1799, but it took 70 years for blacks to be able to vote via the 15th Amendment. That's 70 years, Cleveland. Did you hear that? Did you get those dates?
I followed the timeline. Yes,
Okay.
very disturbing.
Very interesting, Clevon. And so I like what Lowe's did. Lowe's kept the home plate at Six Stadium. Do you know who played at Six Stadium? Rainier McCullough. Do you remember that stadium?
The Seattle Pilots played there.
Seattle Pilots played there, correct. So I don't know if you frequent that Lowe's at all. I don't know. I grew up right. There was apartments. I lived right. We were at the age of I must have been 3 or 4. We were able to overlook Six Stadium and see them when they had the ball games because the baseball field was right there. This is back in the day, bro. It was 70s. But Lowe's is obviously now the site for Lowe's, the hardware store, and they kept right at the entrance of their building is the home plate for Six Stadiums, the original home plate. Did you know that? Have you seen that? Had you?
I have been at Lowe's on numerous occasions. I have not seen the home plate. I will look for it the next time I go there.
Man, they couldn't have moved it. They couldn't have taken it down because they had it identified as a home plate. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But I thought that was cool that Lowe's decided to do that. Seattle chose the nickname for the Pilots of their original American League franchise team in 1968, 331, 1968. They chose the Pilots. It was a cool nickname, I guess. And then they became what team? What team bought them? As just a little trivia story. Do you know who bought the Pilots and what team they become?
I believe they became the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, exactly. That's another cool name for the Brewers, right? April 1st, Dr. Charles Richard Drew, scientist, discovered blood plasma. I think Kobe may have funded his research there to get that done, so Kobe could get that PRP, that plasma treatment, done many times to extend his career. The late great Kobe Bryant. Back in 331, 2004, NFL adopted a 15-yard penalty for excessive celebrations. The penalty was at fines previously in place of choreographed and multiplayer celebrations. Also, if the infraction was flagrant, the player would be ejected. This previous day, owners instituted a modified instant replay system for 5 years. So that led nothing real historical there. That just I saw that happened on this day in 2004. That seems like so long ago that they implemented that. What was another dumb rule that the NFL implemented? Because that was a dumb rule. You would agree with me, right? The 15 yards for excessive celebration. Come on, give me a break.
I would agree.
What was another dumb rule? Like the next dumbest rules I could think is they said they're going to flag running backs or offensive players for the head-on collisions. Like, what do you expect the guy to do? Clearly, I don't know what the hell is Troy Vincent doing in the NFLPA's office or in the office. If he's been there and he allowed that language to be in the rule book. He was a defensive player, I get that. But an offensive player, just any running back coming through the hole, he lowers his shoulder, his head's going to be lowered as well. And so to try to penalize him, that offensive player for that, I remember asking Jim Brown about that. Jim Brown, I said, "What do you think about these new rules?" Jim Brown, like, "What new rules?" That's that kind of stupid stuff. It was kind of funny. But naturally, that's what running backs have done for the end of time or the beginning of time, right? Hugh McElhaney run through the line. He's lowering his shoulders to kind of get some forward lean, some forward momentum. He's lowering his shoulders. His head's going to come down, and that creates a head-on-head contact if the defender's doing the same thing. Another dumb penalty, in my opinion. Clevon, what's another dumb penalty in your opinion?
You know, Cam, I'm not a big fan of the defenseless receiver criteria these days. I mean, I see some passes that are what do you expect the player to do? I mean, the defensive player, it's almost as if they are waiting for you to let them catch the football and then make a tackle. It's like you can't really do anything to prevent that from happening. It's quite crazy, and their definition of defenseless is even more crazy. It's like well, you were running across the middle of the field. Yeah, you kind of took a chance in doing that. Why is it a penalty if you get hit running across the field?
You're exactly right. That is those two questions, the one I brought up, and this defenseless receiver question is one of the questions I like to talk to NFL players about the most, because it's very interesting to hear their perspective and how they have to manage this in split second time, right? This is split second decisions. How are you managing? You see the receiver going up for the ball, and where do you hit him? When do you hit him? Do you wait for him to catch the ball? I've asked that exact question. Do you wait for him to catch the ball and then hit him? Like, it's very interesting to me how defensive players have to adjust to these insane, illogical rules that the NFL is implementing. And again, Troy Vincent, I really question. I mean, I loved him when he was a Dolphin. He went to the Eagles and did his thing. I think he didn't win a Super Bowl there, but he went to he was a good player for the Eagles. I just don't understand how somebody who physically played the game, physically put on the helmet, can allow such language to be implemented into the rule book. That baffles me. It really baffles me. If they do it when he's not in the room, that's one possibility. But the position, I think he's the official rules regulator or something to that effect, where the rules have to go by him. Like, I just don't understand. Well, Troy, I need to talk to you, Troy. I need to understand where your logic is, how you allow these calls to be made. I'm clueless as to this. But I really, back to the question that you brought up, the defensive player question. I mean, if we go back in the day, Ronnie Lott used to hit that receiver coming across the middle. So when he came across the middle the next time, he's looking for the defensive back versus looking for the ball. Therefore, the defense has done their job if they can take his mind off of what he's supposed to do. Like, that's their job. Like, that's how I learned how to play. I mean, I don't know what high school, college, or teach today. That's what I learned. You hit that guy and make sure he doesn't want to come. He doesn't come around your side of your territory, and that's in any position. Whether you're a running back blocking, whether you're the linebacker, and the running back's trying to come block you, whether you're trying to make a tackle, you hit this guy the firstest with the mostest to let him know that this is real man territory around here, and he doesn't come back with that same gusto very next time. If you pop his ass, he's not coming back with that same gusto. That's what the defensive backs are trying to do to the receivers. Why they took that out of the game? I mean, obviously, so they can get more scoring. That's why they did it, so they can have more wide open games. But it's a stupid rule nonetheless. So that was my question. What was the worst rule implemented in the league? And Clevon, looking at this tournament, man, what's been the best story of this tournament, men's or women's?
Oh, I think the best story has been UCLA getting to the Final Four. Was not even on anyone's radar. So the fact they were able to beat a number one seed and push it all the way to the Final Four has been extraordinary to kind of watch their run and the story of their coach and his interaction with his father. It's been great.
Yeah, I kind of would have liked to. You're not wrong in that. Although I wanted Gonzaga, I have Gonzaga. We picked Gonzaga in our pool. Want Gonzaga to win, but it would have been kind of cool to see USC, UCLA, in the Final Four. That has never happened before, so that would have been kind of cool for the city. And we have all four teams are west of the Mississippi there, so there's no East Coast bias involved in this Final Four. What's your thoughts there?
That is extremely unusual. I hadn't really thought of it in terms of that, but yeah, as you lay them all out, I don't really see any resistance to Gonzaga winning the national championship, especially with no Michigan there hanging out. They, playing UCLA. Although I was happy, and it's a great story that they got there. They're not a formidable opponent going forward, so that should be quite interesting. And Houston being in the Final Four against Baylor, I mean that's two Texas teams, so that's kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, it could have been California and Texas shooting it out. What do you have as the biggest disappointment of the tournament, if you can name one?
Oh, for me, it would definitely be the way the Big Ten showed up. They didn't produce other than Michigan, and then I guess a single point of disappointment would probably be Texas as a 3 seed. Shaka Smart, taking the Exodus and going to Marquette. I thought that was kind of lame after, taking over a program of that magnitude and then kind of taking a step back because it was just too much pressure. It's kind of what it seemed like to me. So I think they would probably be the biggest disappointment of the tournament so far.
So the words are that Shaka Smart was going to get fired out of Texas. So why not get out of there before he gets fired?
If that was what was going on, then sure. If that's the narrative, that's fine. I guess it looks better to take a job before you get fired as opposed to looking for a job after you get fired. So yeah, that makes some sense. And also, well, I guess Ohio State is in the Big Ten, but Ohio State was also quite disappointing in just kind of how they, folded very early. But those would be the two biggest stories on the disappointment side that I saw.
Okay. So who you got from winning? Who you got winding out? You still with Gonzaga? Gonzaga is your favorite? I'm going with Gonzaga over UCLA. Over UCLA. Then they'll likely play Baylor in the championship. You still going with Gonzaga?
Zag, still got them.
And just check out my pool one last time. We can't. I had Oregon State in the Final Four against looks like West Virginia, so that's totally off. The only way we can win now is if Gonzaga wins, because that's my only Final Four team in the Final Four.
Well, that's a very distinct possibility, Cam. So it sounds like we still have a very good chance of winning then.
Yeah, yeah. I was just kind of running down who we had actually winning. I had FSU and Bama playing for the right to get to the Final Four, but they're not going to get there. Let me go back to this. Clevon, what do we have left, big guy? The women's bracket. South Carolina versus Stanford, Arizona and Connecticut. We got two black women coaches. Is that a thing? Is that something or nothing? The two black women head coaches. Dawn Staley, boy, she been a women's basketball man for as long as I remember. I remember her playing in Virginia, like the point guard. She was killing back in VA. Now she's coaching South Carolina, doing her thing there. Who you got winning this game? Is it Connecticut?
Connecticut very narrowly escaped that win earlier. I think that they're fortunate to be in the Final Four, but I think that they're going to seize the opportunity and take it back.
Was that a foul? Was that a foul on the old girl going to the hoop? Do you call that a foul? Do you blow the whistle?
You call that a foul?
You can't blow the whistle right there, man. You can't blow the whistle. I mean,
this is not 92, man. In 2021, you blow the whistle.
She jumped right into the girls, man. The girls had position. She jumped right into them. I can't blow that whistle in that situation. I can't blow the whistle in that situation. Okay, so we'll see how things play out. Cleveland, we got a big fight. We got two Mexicans battling it out here. May 1. Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola. I fortunately enough got to interview both of these cats. Andy Ruiz is on a rebound. Said he's focused now. He didn't. He admitted it. He's honest, man. Hey, I won a championship, man, and I got opportunities I never thought I'd have before. and I was living a life. Um, he's still living in. He was living in a duplex, but doing big things as a heavyweight champion of the world. And then Chris Arreola, he was honest by saying, when I first met Andrew Ruiz, he looked up to me. Now I'm looking up to he looked up to me and trying to be where I was. Now I look up to him and trying to be where he is. So, are you interested in this fight at all? Do you plan on sitting down and watch it? It's a pay-per-view fight. I don't know if you're putting up to $50, but are you interested in this fight at all?
No and no.
This should be an actual a good fight because neither one of these guys are going to lay down. I plan on being in the house, and just forewarning you fans, neither one of these guys is going to lay down. And so Chris wants to knock Andy out. They're good friends. Chris wants to knock Andy out. Andy's on the rebound. So I think that's why it's going to be a good fight. Fans, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, the fans of this show, podcast listeners, are why we do this show each and every week. Why we do this Voice of the Fans is because I'm a fan of sports. Clevon, you're a fan of sports. I figure kind of we talk about the sports from a fan's perspective. Fortunately enough, I've been able to kind of take this passion a little further and do some sports writing here locally in the Los Angeles market, covering a couple NBA teams, NFL teams, cover some boxing events, and kind of see what sports is like from the locker room perspective, if you will, but which has been really cool. But I want to give the fans a view of sports from this angle, from the angle of being a fan, being a reporter. I'm still a fan as a reporter, so that doesn't change. I'm just writing about what I see from a fan's perspective. So I wanted to create this show, create this platform, so I can have this dialogue with other sports fans. Clevon, I appreciate you for being a part of it. Fans, tune in. Let me know what you think of the show. Leave a comment. Or if you're watching the show, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the show. Let us know what you like to see, what topics you like for us to share so we can get better. All feedback is good feedback. That's one thing I see. That's one thing I truly believe. As we go, so we give you NBA topics, we give you NFL topics, man. We give you some history lessons with our This Week in History. We challenge your mind when with our numbers game. What number every week that number changes. So what numbers are you thinking about? Now I'm gonna give you a quote, give you something to walk away with for the week. I like this quote, Clevon. Good is not good when better is expected. Clevon, I expect better of you. I expect better of you to come up with some trash comments about the Nets being overrated. I expect more than that. So that's why I challenge you on these comments that you make because I expect better of you. So the good is not good when better is expected. I mean, that means you're not going to let some average stuff slide. And fans in your life, you shouldn't let average stuff slide. So that's why I'm always challenging Clevon, challenging his takes, because he could be better. And I'm working with him, fans. I'm working. We got to give Clevon a chance. I'm working with him. It's been a lot of time, a lot of work I've been putting into this guy. His takes are improving, but some of them are just not what I expect from this guy. And that's why we have to get the sticky notes going. We have to get the ticker going, and you'll see it. When we get to Daniels, that's gonna be a show. When we get to Daniels in June, that's gonna be a show. That's gonna be a show.
That is
But
going to be the show, yes.
Clevon, I appreciate you again for your participation in the show. Fans, be sure to rate, review our podcast. As always, I want to thank you for making our voice your choice. Clevon, have a good night, man.
Right on, bro. You do the same. Can't wait to talk soon.
Later.